Welcome, curious acolytes of the galaxy, back to our archives. For a little while now, we've been talking extensively about the Eternal Empire and its ruler, Darth Vitiate himself, the Dark Lord of the Sith who achieved true immortality and wrought terror all across the galaxy in his day that made Palpatine's achievements look minuscule in comparison. We began by explaining the life of Vitiate himself, and then the lives of his children, Arcan and Valen. We talked about his power and the power of the Eternal Empire, as well as the Knights of Zakul which he founded. Now though, we are going to finish this series off with talking about exactly how this immortal emperor finally came to his end, and how Darth Vitiate finally was killed. Tenebrae, Vitiate, and Valkorion, all the same man, died many times, and it was assumed that after the Outlander destroyed him with the help of Arcan and Senya with his own mindscape, that he was ultimately defeated once and for all. However, this assumption was wrong, and there existed a single vestige of Vitiate left somewhere in the galaxy. So, in this video, the finale of our Eternal Empire series, we are going to go over the epic final battle that was the final end to the Emperor's terrifying reign, and how, after several thousand years, Vitiate was finally defeated. First though, in anticipation of the holiday season, there is a massive sale on the Star Wars merch page, where you can get stuff up to 40 or even 50% off. And at checkout, if you use code WAVE, you can get an additional 15% off your entire order. So be sure to check it out if you're interested. Now, Acolytes, let us open the final holocron, at least for now, of the Eternal Empire. Upon his quote-unquote death at the hands of the Outlander, Vitiate had used a backup of his spirit in the form of some kind of plague that was carved into his original body, as a sort of safeguard for his very presence. At the same time that the Outlander had destroyed Valkorion's spirit in his mind, Lord Scourge and Kira Carson attempted to destroy the original body of Tenebrae, the first of Vitiate's many bodies. This released the virus that injured the two. Jedi Master Cecile Shan ended up coming to their rescue, only to be infected with the virus herself and possessed by Tenebrae Vitiate. Sensing that Cecile was extremely powerful and was a descendant of Revan himself, Vitiate desperately attempted to possess her body entirely, and thus the battle to destroy the Emperor once and for all finally began. The Outlander rushed to the aid of Cecile, and with the help of Kira Carson, managed to enter her mind where all of her allies faced the spirit of Valkorion, taking the form of his three most prominent versions, that being Tenebrae, Vitiate, and Valkorion, all simultaneously. Tenebrae here vowed to be even more decisive than he was before, no longer worried about mortal concerns like his Vitiate self, or allow himself to be held back by a family like his Valkorion counterpart. However, Cecile broke from this meditative trance that she was being kept in, and she took a stand with the Outlander against Tenebrae. She proclaimed that no matter how much power Tenebrae had, it would always be his weakness, because his arrogance put him in the place where he was now trapped. Cecile in this moment was correct, as all of her Jedi students took a stand with the allies. Lord Scourge, Mitra Surik, Kira Carson, Arcan, Thexan, Valen, Senya, Darth Mar, and even Revan all showed up and engaged Tenebrae in all of his forms as they unleashed their power in a massive wave, attempting to destroy all of the allies that banded together against him. However, they all combined their powers in the Force and their spiritual energies in order to finally resist the Eternal Emperor. The allies marched forward towards the three faces of Tenebrae, and they began to condemn him. But this was not the end. Suddenly, all of the spirits of everyone that the Emperor had ever wronged appeared. Every Imperial and Republic soldier, every innocent civilian, Jedi, and Sith alike. Even the Knights of Zakul and the citizens of the Eternal Empire all stood as one against Tenebrae. Tenebrae's power began to fail him as he was now completely outnumbered, and for the first time in his life, completely overpowered. The three faces of Tenebrae hissed and said, "No, the Force is mine. I command it. I am endless." However, Vitiate and Valkorion both began to freeze and turn to stone. Then, the Outlander and his allies stepped forward and said, "No, in the end, you are ultimately nothing." At this, Tenebrae himself began to turn to stone, and they all crumbled before them into utter dust. And thus was the end of the Sith Eternal Emperor. The dramatic finish that Tenebrae has is fitting for this kind of villain. He cared nothing for trillions of lives, and fully planned on dominating and destroying all life in the galaxy to become the god of the universe. It is poetic justice that in his last moments, all the people that he had wronged would all stand at once against him, putting aside all of their political and ideological differences in the Force to destroy this insane, all-consuming madman. Darth Sidious's death was appropriate for him because one of his greatest atrocities was corrupting the Chosen One and forcing him to destroy all of the Jedi. So by the redeemed Chosen One's hand would Sidious be destroyed as well. Tenebrae's death was equally as personal because ever since he was born, all he would do was torture and kill. All of his rivals, his lust for power, and homicidal tendencies were in a complete selfish desire to live eternally. However, it was through the combined power of selflessness and camaraderie that would be his ultimate undoing. He spent his millennia of life tearing people apart, and it was the unity of all of those fallen that Tenebrae breathed his last breath. It was impossible for any single or even small group of people to overpower him by this point in time, because of course his latent power in the Force had grown beyond what anyone could comprehend. Tenebrae could not be defeated in a climactic lightsaber duel to the death. Tenebrae was beyond lightsabers, almost beyond the literal Force. He was far beyond anyone's normal powers, or even super weapons at this point in his life. This was a man who had to face judgment only by the combined hands of everyone he had ever wronged, and the will of the Force itself. No matter how powerful anyone is, the Force must always balance itself. This was what Revan had said, and this is the one thing that the Jedi did understand that the Sith never truly grasped. The balance must be maintained, for the Force will do everything to balance itself. We believe that this may have been the will of the Force for Order 66 to happen, and it was for this very reason that all of these spirits managed to bring Tenebrae to justice, a final and definitive justice. But my friends, I would love to get your opinion on this one. Tenebrae, Vitiate, goes out with an appropriately explosive finale, and for those of you who never saw the end to this Old Republic campaign, how do you think Vitiate finally died? Do you believe that Vitiate was finally brought to justice, and the reign of Tenebrae, Valkorion, and Darth Vitiate finally brought to a climactic finale? As always, my friends, thank you so much for watching and continuing to support the channel. As always, don't forget the sale on the Star Wars merch page down below, and as always, may the Force be with you, and have a great day.